You know that character from every workplace comedy who's brilliant but completely insufferable? The guy who's technically right about everything but somehow makes everyone's life miserable? Well, I just discovered that person exists in real life in the tech industry. And they're the reason why so many talented developers can't get hired. I'm talking about developers who can solve any algorithm, work 80-hour weeks, and build systems so complex they'd make NASA's engineers cry. But they're also a nightmare to work with. If you don't know me yet, my name is Phil. 7 years ago, I was a 30-year-old English teacher making barely enough to survive. Today, I'm a senior developer who's earned over $300,000 annually and helped hundreds of people break into tech without burning out in the process. My goal is to give you my no filter, no BS insights about life and lessons as a software engineer. These are my own thoughts based on my own experiences. I recently came across a YouTube video about the worst kind of programmers. That reminded me of a time where I almost went down that path, which also inspired this video. These aren't bad developers. They're technically gifted people who've optimized for all the wrong things. Picture this nightmare scenario. A fintech startup is building their core payment processing platform. They hired 2 senior developers who are absolute legends on paper. One has a PhD in computer science, the other has worked at 3 FAANG companies. The PhD decides the system needs a proper event-driven architecture with custom message queues, distributed state machines, and his own implementation on a Byzantine fault tolerance because existing solutions aren't mathematically pure enough. Meanwhile, the FAANG veteran insists on building a microservice architecture with 47 different services, each using a different database technology because polyglot persistence is the future. He creates his own service mesh framework because Kubernetes is too mainstream. Both developers are pulling 80-hour weeks, writing thousands of lines of code, solving complex distributed systems problems that would make MIT professors jealous. 6 months in, they have a system so sophisticated that NASA could probably use it to coordinate Mars missions. But when the business asks for a simple feature like show transaction history, it requires changes across 23 different services and takes 3 weeks to implement. The rest of the team can't contribute because understanding the system requires a graduate degree in distributed systems theory. Junior developers spend their days trying to decipher documentation that reads like academic papers. Then, the PhD gets recruited by a research lab and leaves. The company tries to hire a replacement, but nobody can understand the Byzantine fault tolerance implementation without 6 months of onboarding. The FAANG veteran becomes a single point of failure, working 100-hour weeks trying to maintain his service mesh framework while the system randomly breaks in production, because one microservice talked to another microservice in a way that violated some architectural principle that only he understands. Eventually, he burns out and quits too. The aftermath is a payment system that can theoretically handle millions of transactions, but crashes when someone tries to process a refund. The company ends up hiring a consulting firm to spend 8 months rewriting everything with Django and PostgreSQL. If you didn't understand any of the terms or buzzwords I threw around, it's okay. I don't even understand them myself. But there are real people who understand this kind of BS. The thing is, these guys are incredible developers. Their LinkedIn profiles could make you weep with envy, but they optimized for technical sophistication instead of business values. The uncomfortable truth nobody talks about is these developers didn't fail because they couldn't code. They failed because programming in 2025 isn't just about programming anymore. Think about it. Every toxic workplace comedy has that character who's technically competent but socially oblivious. They're right about the technical details but wrong about literally everything else. It's funny when it's in the TV shows. In real life, it's career suicide. These developers have world-class technical skills, but kindergarten-level soft skills. And soft skills aren't just being nice. They're strategic abilities that determine whether you're an asset or a liability. Communication skills. Can you explain why your code matters to someone who doesn't speak JavaScript? When your project manager asks why the feature is delayed, can you give an answer that doesn't sound like you're reciting documentation? Collaboration abilities. Can you build systems that your teammates can actually contribute to? Or do you create beautiful, complex solutions that only you can understand And maintain emotional intelligence. Can you read the room? Do you know when your technically superior solution is actually making everyone's life harder? Adaptability. This is the big one. Can you match your approach to different people and situations? Because what works with one person will completely backfire with another. The developers in the story had none of these skills. They were brilliant in isolation and toxic in collaboration. The interview game everyone gets wrong. This soft skills gap becomes brutally obvious during interviews. And here's where most technical people completely miss the point. They think interviews are about proving how smart they are. That's like thinking a first date is about reciting your resume. Here's some real game for you. Don't play the interview, play the interviewer. That interviewer holds massive power over your career. Your job isn't to dazzle them with technical complexity, it's to make them think, I want to work with this person every day. This means reading their personality and adapting in real time. And I don't mean being fake, I mean being strategically authentic. If your interviewer is analytical and detail-oriented, you can tell because they ask follow-up questions, take notes, want to understand your thought process, match their energy with structured, precise answers. Show your systematic thinking, don't rush. If their results, focused and business-minded, they get straight to the point, ask about impact, seem impatient with technical details. Frame everything as outcomes and business value. Save the technical deep dives unless they specifically ask. If they're skeptical or cynical, they challenge your answers, seem doubtful. Their questions have an edge. Don't come in with fake enthusiasm. Be direct, honest, back up everything with evidence. Match their seriousness. If they're collaborative and team-focused, they emphasize culture fit. Ask about teamwork, want to hear about working with others, share credit generously, emphasize how you've helped teammates succeed. Being generically friendly and bubbly works with maybe 30% of interviewers and bombs with the other 70%. I've watched brilliant developers destroy interviews because they couldn't read social cues. They'd launch into 20-minute technical monologues for interviewers who clearly just wanted to know, will this person make my team's life easier or harder? The new rules of tech success. Here's what successful developers understand that everyone else misses. Your code is only as valuable as your ability to work with others. The lone genius programmer is dead. Modern software is built by teams, maintained by teams, and scaled by teams. More now than ever. Yes, you can argue that with AI, teams are now smaller than ever because the average engineer is more leveraged. But that's exactly why it's more important now. Because you're speaking to fewer people, so you have less room to hide and more need to get along with your team. If you can't operate effectively within that team dynamic, your technical skills become worthless. But this doesn't mean dumbing down your solutions. It means being strategically smart about complexity. Choose technologies your team can actually use. That cutting-edge framework might be technically perfect, but if only you know it, you've just created a single point of failure. I've seen teams paralyzed for months because one developer insisted on using some exotic library that nobody else could debug. Write code like you might get hit by a bus tomorrow. Your code needs to survive without you. This means clear abstractions, reasonable complexity, and documentation that explains the why, not just the what. Make others successful, not just yourself. The developers who get promoted and stay employed are force multipliers. They share knowledge, help debug problems that aren't theirs, make code reviews constructive instead of ego trips. Think like a business owner, not just an engineer. Sometimes the quick and dirty solution is exactly what the business needs. Sometimes technical debt is the right trade-off for speed to market. Learn to balance engineering ideals with business reality. I learned this the hard way. Early in my career, I was definitely the guy who chose complex patterns because they were intellectually satisfying. I thought I was being helpful by solving difficult problems elegantly. But I was actually creating maintenance nightmares and excluding my teammates from contributing effectively. The shift happened when I realized my job wasn't to write perfect code, it was to help my team deliver value efficiently. The framework that actually works. Here's the exact framework I wish someone had taught me. Step 1. Optimize for team productivity, not personal satisfaction. Before choosing any technology, ask, will this make my team faster or slower 6 months from now? Sometimes the boring solution is the right solution because everyone knows how to work with it. Step 2. Develop communication superpowers. Practice explaining the same technical concept to 3 different people. A junior developer, a senior developer, and a non-technical manager. Each conversation should sound completely different because each person has different needs and context. Step 3. Read people like you read documentation. Pay attention to body language, communication styles, what motivates different personalities. Some people think out loud and need to talk through problems. Others process internally and want to present finished solutions. Adapt accordingly. Step 4. Build bridges, not knowledge silos. Every technical decision should bring the team together, not create exclusive expertise. If you're the only person who can work on something, that's a failure, not job security. Step 5. Practice active listening like it's a technical skill. When someone gives feedback or asks questions, really listen. Don't just wait for your turn to explain why you're right. Often, the non-technical person asking annoying questions has insights about user experience or business constraints that you're missing. Step 6. Master the art of strategic simplicity. The best developers I know can make complex things simple, not simple things complex. If you can't explain your solution clearly, you probably don't understand it well enough. The uncomfortable table reality check. If you're technically brilliant but struggling to get hired, the problem probably isn't your code. The tech industry has evolved. Companies learned that hiring brilliant jerks is expensive and disruptive. They'd rather hire good developers who work well with each other than great developers who work in isolation. Your GitHub stars don't matter if you can't collaborate. Your LeetCode ranking doesn't matter if you can't communicate. Your architectural knowledge doesn't matter if you can't adapt to different personalities. The developers thriving in 2025 aren't necessarily the smartest ones. They're the ones who combine technical competence with human intelligence. And here's the part that might sting. Most technically gifted people resist developing these skills because they think it's beneath them or not real programming. That attitude is exactly what keeps them unemployable. Companies want developers who can grow with the team, mentor others, communicate with stakeholders, and make technical decisions that serve the business, not just showcase their intellect. The good news is that these soft skills can be developed, but not alone. You need to be speaking with people. A great way to start is through free communities, college clubs, or even through mentorship and coaching programs. The choice is yours. Look, being technically excellent is still important, but it's table stakes now, not a competitive advantage. The real differentiator is your ability to use that excellence in service of others, your team, your company, your users. Can you make complex things simple? Can you adapt your approach to different people? Can you build systems that thrive without you? Can you make your teammates better at their jobs? If you found this helpful, subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subs by the end of the year. The choice is simple. Keep optimizing for technical perfection in isolation or start optimizing for professional success in collaboration. In 2025, the question isn't whether you can code. The question is whether people want to work with you while you code. Don't be the brilliant developer who ends up unemployed because they confuse intelligence with wisdom. Be the one who combines technical excellence with human intelligence. Because software is built by humans, for humans, with humans. And if you can't navigate that human element, all the technical skills in the world won't save your career. If I can do it, you can do it too. Coding saves lives.